Hello, everyone. Welcome. Greetings. I hope everyone's doing well. Today, we are going to discuss right speech. And right speech is the third step on the eightfold path. Right speech is also known as right communication and is to abstain from any type of false speech, such as lying, gossip, sarcasm, criticism, and all types of negative speech. We explained in previous lectures that when we use the words right or wrong, we are simply referring to purity and impurity. When we do something that is impure, we disturb our minds, hearts, and bodies. We are seeking to discover the impurities that we have within ourselves. And we are simply seeking what is impure and what is pure. Wrong speech or impure speech, whether internal or external, is motivated by impurities that we have within ourselves. So, with each one of the steps of the eightfold path, we are seeking to see what keeps us trapped and conditioned in vice and error. With this step, we are striving to be mindful of our speech, with the way we communicate internally and externally. We've mentioned mindfulness during each step so far. And when we arrive at step 7, we will discuss right mindfulness even further. But truly, we need to be mindful of each step, to pay attention, to have awareness of how we perform each step from moment to moment. With this step of the eightfold path, we need to be mindful of the way we intend to speak to others and to ourselves. To be mindful is to pay attention, and mindfulness helps us catch ourselves before we say something that causes harm. Our words affect us and other people, and we need to become aware of this. We need to understand that our words contain power. Our words contain creative energy. And when we abuse the word, we abuse the creative force. So Samael stated, one not only fornicates with the sexual act, fornication with the word is another type of fornication. The improper use of words is also fornication. Fornication with the verb creates misfortunes. It hurts to see how people abuse the word and fill their world with pain. Slander is the worst of all blasphemies. One must achieve perfection of the word and language within oneself. One must comprehend the responsibility of the word. One must learn how to use the sexual creative organ of the word, the larynx. What we say in our minds has effects. And eventually, the things we tell ourselves internally motivates us to express itself externally. So let me say that another way. So we have a lot of chatter in our minds. We talk to ourselves internally often, and we usually are not aware when we're doing this. We talk to ourselves in our minds constantly. And what we tell ourselves in our minds, the conversations that we have with ourselves within our mind, those things eventually wish to be expressed. And they do eventually. And for example, when we feel anger and we have angry thoughts, eventually we will express our anger through some type of action. And what happens when we express our anger through our speech? We cause suffering, right? People get hurt. Motivated by anger and pride, we say things that cause harm. Our speech, motivated by anger, causes people to feel emotional pain and even fear. Many of us have addictions to anger. We like the power we feel from it, and we enjoy making others suffer. If this is true for you, become aware of it and seek to intuitively understand what it's doing. What are the causes and effects on others and on your own psyche? Can you recall a time when you said something that was motivated by anger? Did you regret it and feel remorse? Or did you enjoy the fruits of your anger? These are good questions to ask yourself. Good reflections. Anger is a destructive force that only seeks to cause pain and suffering. That is the truth of anger. Anger is a blind force that we all have within ourselves. It blinds us. Our anger needs to be studied and comprehended. If we aspire to overcome anger, we need to study it and comprehend the causes and consequences. When we comprehend that our words fueled by anger cause suffering, and we feel the suffering we have caused, then little by little we transform our anger into love and compassion. When you truly comprehend the suffering you've inflicted and you care, you genuinely care because you feel compassion, you begin to intuitively feel and know a truth. And to know and feel the facts intuitively lead to psychological transformation. There are many types of wrong speech, and lying is one of them. We all lie. And some of us have developed addictions to lying, telling tall tales, bending the truth. Some of us picked up the behavior of lying for many different reasons. Some of them are abuse, attention seeking, to get what we want. We lie because of fear, etc. In order to end this type of speech requires the knowledge of why we begin to lie and why we continue to lie to this day. We start by having awareness of when we lie. No matter how small or large the lie is, pay attention. Be mindful. Pay attention to your thoughts. and pay attention to the lies you tell yourself. In the beginning, this will be difficult because we've been lying to ourselves for a very long time. Our pride gets in the way, which is something else we are very addicted to. We tell ourselves many lies every day because of pride. We say things like, I'm right, they're wrong, they need to hear it, even if it hurts them. People should be more like me. I don't need this. I don't deserve this. They do. I don't have to understand them. They should understand me. Or we tell ourselves things in reverse of that. Like, I'm no good. I can't do it. It's too difficult. I should just give up. And on and on. The lies that we've been telling ourselves is infinite. It behooves us to understand that anytime we say I, we usually are motivated by an emotion or thought of selfishness, some type of psychological aggregate. We also should be aware that there are many different things we tell ourselves constantly that are rooted in self-deception. Self-deception is the action or practice of allowing oneself to believe that a false or unvalidated feeling, idea, or situation is true. And one of the number one things that instigates this is the ego of pride. Our pride leads us to lying to others and ourselves. Pride is puffed up and full of itself. Our pride, honestly, it keeps us from the truth about ourselves, others, and life itself. Another form of wrong speech we'll discuss is gossip. Pay attention to when you gossip and try to understand why you are doing it or why you even want to. Gossip is to talk about others, typically involving details that are not true. When we gossip, we tend to bend the truth, which is to tell a half truth. And a half truth is still a lie, it's deceitful. What happens when we gossip about someone? What happens when the other person finds out? Do you care? Reflect on these questions. Write them down if you like. When we gossip, we cause suffering in many different ways, not only for the other person, but also for ourselves. When we lie or gossip, we are strengthening our addictions to lying, our addictions to pride, anger, envy, and selfishness. Strengthening our egos is very unhealthy. We do not care about other people's feelings when we say hurtful things about them, and this is rooted in selfishness. Selfishness is profoundly unhealthy for everyone. When you talk negatively about someone, pay attention to how you feel. Is your heart rate going up or down? Do you feel positive, relaxed, and serene? Or do you feel tense and psychologically filthy? Gossip disturbs our minds, our hearts, and our bodies. Pay attention. Gossip is rooted in some type of negative and impurity of some type. And if we are speaking about someone negatively, if we are spreading a rumor that we heard but don't know to be true, or we're the one making up the rumor and are spreading it to others in order to cause harm, what are the consequences? Do we ever pay attention to that? We should. What are the fruits? What are the fruits of our wrong speech? Jesus said, "Ye shall know them by their fruits." What fruits are you bearing? How about when we lie to our own children or gossip about someone with them? What are we teaching them? And what are the consequences? Did we learn this from our own parents and are passing it on to the next generation and thus keeping the cycle of wrong speech in motion? And gossip and lying are profoundly unhealthy for our minds and hearts. Lying and gossip can eventually lead to not caring about the truth and thus creating enjoyment in expressing and living lies, creating chaos. How, you may ask? Somehow we've learned to enjoy the energy and fruits that are born from gossip and deceit. If we enjoy talking horribly about other people, why is that? Why do we like that so much? What type of enjoyment are we receiving? The fact is, we see this all over the world. If you turn on the news or almost any channel on TV, you will find lies and gossip that are creating global chaos. Why is this? Why is this happening? Those are good questions. Well, we've learned to enjoy hatred, pain, and suffering. We've learned to exploit our fellow human beings. We've learned and conditioned ourselves to judge and believe what we hear is true without any concrete proof, without gathering the facts. We have become accustomed to taking someone else's word for it. How do we free ourselves from these types of behaviors? Pay attention to how you view things, your intentions and motivations. Pay attention. Strive to be mindful of the psychological factors within yourself that trigger you to view things and motivate you to behave in an unethical manner. Observe yourself. Pay attention to when you enjoy anger, when you enjoy hurting others with your words, when you enjoy talking negatively about others, and ask yourself, why? Why am I doing this? What is it doing to me and to other people? What are the fruits, the outcome of so much negativity? When we are aware of what's happening and why, we see the causes and their effects. Observing the consequences and knowing the facts gives us a gift. What kind of a gift, you may wonder? A gift of gnosis, experiential knowledge, knowledge of ourselves that we gain from experience. When we are aware and comprehend why we do things and what happens when we do them, we gain experiential knowledge. This type of knowledge is worth more than gold. Wisdom is priceless. Real wisdom is priceless because it leads one to psychological freedom. To be wise is to know. Knowing has nothing to do with reading from a book or from hearing something from someone else, something that you've seen on TV or something that someone told you. Wisdom comes from experiencing the facts for yourself. Two other forms of wrong speech are sarcasm and criticism. Sarcasm may cause others to feel uncomfortable. Sarcasm may be funny for you, but perhaps not for everyone else, right? Do you care when someone is negatively affected by your sarcasm or criticism? If you don't, why is that? Is it because of selfishness? And do you only care about the way you feel? These are things that we should all pay attention to. How about criticism? Criticism is to pass judgment or to express disapproval and is something based on perceived faults and mistakes. Most of us are very quick to judge and criticize others. All of us make mistakes. All of us have faults. And most of the time, when we criticize someone, we contradict ourselves. How? In what way, you may ask? Well, when we criticize someone, we usually see something in them that we too have within ourselves. If we criticize someone for getting angry and we're really hard on them about it, is that helpful? If we criticize someone for relapsing, are we passing judgment without the facts? Do we see the entire picture? And have we relapsed or got angry before? Is it helpful to point our fingers at someone, or is it more helpful to give them support, positive encouragement, and to help them learn how to overcome their anger and their substance abuse with positive encouragement is much more helpful than criticizing them for their behavior. If someone relapses on narcotics or some types of substance, is it helpful to criticize them and point our fingers at them, to let them know that they're a bad person or that they've done something that is horrible? To point those things out and to not give any type of positive encouragement or a way to help them see how they are causing suffering themselves in a positive way really isn't helpful. And most people don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear negative criticism. So the question becomes, how can we help someone without criticizing them? One way is to use yourself as an example and put yourself in their shoes. We call this empathy. To empathize with them, try to understand them, and recall that all of us have anger and many types of addictions. We all have been angry, and that is something we should remember when someone else's anger upsets us. We may in that moment really want to point our fingers at them and treat them like they're a bad person. But if we remain aware of ourselves and consciously choose to empathize with them, we can keep from criticizing their behaviors and remember that we too have acted in the same way. Instead, we observe ourselves in the situation in order to find a positive way of being helpful. Well, we want to help the situation and not make it worse. When we do our best to self-observe and empathize, we discover the facts, and this helps us find a better approach for giving advice. There are healthy ways we can give advice, but when we criticize someone else's behavior, we usually instigate arguments or some type of conflict erupts. Most people do not enjoy being criticized, and before we pass judgment, try to gather all the facts of the situation first. And before you begin to criticize the behaviors of others, take a good look at yourself. Another key point we can discuss is when we feel motivated to give advice, giving advice is great, but is the person ready to receive it? And did you ask if they wanted your advice? We need to get a good feel for where this person or whoever it is at. Are they even receptive at this moment? Can they even hear you? Or is their state of mind in the right place? Are they too emotional? We really need to follow our intuition with these types of things. If somebody comes to you and says, I relapsed, and we just say, oh man, that sucks. That's really not a good thing. You really messed up. Is that helpful? Or are they just going to turn around and walk away and go use some more? Whatever it is. If they're angry and we just get angry too, then how is that going to be helpful? If they're really angry and we can't handle their anger, then we need to just in that moment really self-remember and really self-observe and walk away if we have to. Go for a walk, calm down. Because if we just react with the same type of energy, we are blind in that moment. Remember, I said anger is a blind force. So when you are motivated and intend to give someone advice, take a look at where it's coming from. Most of the time, it's pride. And before you give advice, ask yourself, is it coming from a place of genuine helpfulness? And if the person doesn't like your advice, will you get upset? How many times have we got upset because someone didn't like our advice? And why did we get upset in the first place? We need to pay attention to these things. It's very helpful. And it's important to become aware of how easy it is to see the faults of others versus recognizing their strengths too. Why is that though? Why is it easier to see the negatives and not the positives? And is it because most of the day we spend our time and energy focusing on negatives? And why is that too? Why are we attracted to the negatives more than the positives? Why are we attracted to impurity more than purity? Rarely do we hear people speak positively about other people you know, or about the beauty in the world or the goodness that is all around us. And why is that? Why is it difficult for us to see and feel the positives in ourselves, in others, and in the world? Why is that difficult? Why are we more aware of all the negatives? And truthfully, there are many reasons. A few are we watch garbage on TV. We read garbage. We listen to negative music. We consume filth at a catastrophic rate, impurities. And what's the outcome of that? If all of us are doing that, a humanity, if all of us are doing that, what's the outcome? A, a humanity that applauds violence, negative, hateful speech, gossip, lies, rumors, a humanity that no longer cares for truth. That's what we're seeing. Why do we enjoy impure speech? Why do we enjoy hurting our fellow man with our words? Why are we so hateful? In order to discover the facts, we need to not only look outward, but also inward. The impurities that we have within ourselves, psychologically speaking, are attracted to negatives. Our ego craves the sensations of sarcasm, criticism, and hateful speech. Before you watch TV, try to understand why. Why do you want to watch what you're about to watch? Before you talk about someone, ask yourself why. Become aware. Why am I about to talk about so and so? Is it negative or positive? What are the consequences? Take notice. Pay attention. Observe yourself mentally and emotionally, and learn to question your motives. If we wish to work on our impure speech, we should be asking ourselves these types of questions. Every time you are motivated to speak horribly to or about someone, become aware of why. One of the reasons is that we want to be better than others. We have been taught throughout our lives that we have to compete, to be the best, to be special, to be the one that is noticed. Everywhere on this planet, we find profound competition. Everyone is competing for all kinds of things, and this has created global envy and greed. Competition leads to suffering. One only needs to take a look around to figure that out. We are losing the ability to work together, to be a team, to be helpful and useful to one another and to ourselves. We are losing motivation for upright sacrifice. It is much more common to sacrifice each other. And we exploit and sacrifice each other in order to get ahead in life. The world does not become a better place through acts of selfishness. True sacrifice comes from a place of love for each other and for all. In the Gospel of Thomas, it states, love never says it owns something, though it owns everything. Love does not say, this is mine, or that is mine, but rather, all that is mine is yours. Many people say that they want the world to become a better place. We hear people state that they'd love to live in a better world. It is also common to hear people state that they don't know how it can change. Most of us do not realize that change first needs to occur within ourselves. How can anything outside of us get better if we are a psychological mess? Our psychological state of being has caused the chaos that we see in our towns, our cities, states, and countries. Become aware of the effects and imagine how the world would be if greed, lust, pride, and anger didn't exist within us. Imagine what the world would be like if we worked on ourselves to become upright people. Samael Aun stated, the exterior is a reflection of our interior. Only by radically transforming ourselves as individuals can we save ourselves and save humanity. Each one of us can change, but it takes sacrifice. Instead of speaking horribly about someone, learn to sacrifice your own egotistical will and say something positive or nothing at all. Learn to see the positives in yourself so that you can see the positives in others. Make a daily effort to see the good in someone and yourself. Watch a sunrise or a sunset and become aware of the beauty in the world again. M stated, the loveliness of the dawn should be the topic of the day, and the beauty and goodness in mankind our theme. How profound. There are many reasons why we have difficulty seeing the good in others, and we need to discover them. There may be many causes, many reasons, but we can find them by paying attention to ourselves from moment to moment and through profound meditation. With this step of the eightfold path, we are seeking to transform our impure speech into an ethical, upright way of speaking. Pay attention to when you're about to lie and learn to see the truth of why you want to lie. Pay attention to when you are sarcastic and observe the hows and the whys of why you do it. And how does it affect the person you are directing your sarcasm towards? If you like to tell jokes and make people laugh, try to do it without hurting someone. If you like to give advice, try to do it without criticism. And make sure that you too live by the advice you're giving. Giving advice that we don't live by ourselves is a contradiction. Many people do this. All kinds of people love to give advice and do not live by it themselves. It's very common. All of us have probably done this at some point in our lives and most likely still do. Practice being mindful of what you're going to say and why you want to say it. So many words cause suffering. Samael stated, at times it is a crime to speak, and likewise at other times it is a crime to be silent. One must talk when one has to talk and be silent when one has to be silent. Therefore, let us not play with the word, because this carries a serious responsibility. Each word must be weighed before being uttered, because each word can generate in the world much efficiency or much inefficiency, much benefit or much harm. Truly, the spoken word contains power, the power to cause harmony or disharmony. Something great to reflect on. Look back, retrospect your day. When you do, pay attention to the conversations you've had with yourself and with other people. While doing that, you may become aware of how some of the things that you've said affected others and yourself. Through that experience of imagination during meditation, you will feel and intuitively know. And that experience of the reality of the power of your words will help you see and know what you need to change. In order to end our impure speech, we need to understand the causes and effects, plain and simple. Right speech comes from comprehending our speech that causes suffering and caring about the consequences. If we cuss too much, we need to understand why. If we speak negatively internally or externally, we need to understand why. Practice seeing something positive within yourself and say it out loud. It's a great practice. Practice perceiving something good in someone else and telling them about it. When you hear someone gossiping about someone else, don't partake in it. And don't criticize the other person either. Because remember, you have done the same thing at some point in your life. Abstaining from lying, from decisive speech, from abusive speech, and from idle chatter will lead one to right speech. Learning to not lie and tell the truth, no matter the cost, will lead one to right speech. Study yourself. Pay attention. Be mindful of the way you speak to yourself and to others. Well, let's all make a conscious commitment to not partake in negative speech of any kind. If you find yourself moved to lie, to gossip, or speak harshly, become aware of what's motivating you to do so. Become aware of the facts. Am I stressed, jealous, angry, motivated by greed or some type of selfishness? Do I fear rejection or do I desire recognition? Ground yourself by being mindful. Pausing for a moment, remember your higher power, and contemplate the detriments of wrong speech. And then re-engage with wise intentions. The Buddha stated, overcome the angry by non-anger. Overcome the wicked by goodness. Overcome the miser by generosity. Overcome the liar by truth. Speak the truth. Yield not to anger. When asked, give even if you only have a little. By these three means can one reach the presence of the gods. Those sages who are inoffensive and ever restrained in body go to the deathless state, where, having gone, they grieve no more. I teach about suffering and the way to end it. Beautiful. So if you have any questions, you can email me at oreganosis@gmail.com. And you can also go onto my website and contact me through there at oreganosis.org.in. Thank you for being here today. Let's all work on our speech.